So we took some of the bits and pieces away, added a little hanger, and now it's a little bird feeder.
Hello, thank you for checking out Earth Care. Today, we're heading to Washington State to catch up with Terra Heilman, the coordinator of Repair Clark County. This is a super cool program that has people in that area repairing things or upcycling things before they go out and buy something new. We're at a time where mass consumption is a major problem, so if there's a solution or an alternative to it, we kind of need it. I actually brought some props for this one, things that I've upcycled, gonna get an expert opinion on them, including something that I use every single time we shoot an episode for this series. I'm so excited for Terra to tell us about the program, but also just talk about why habits like upcycling or repairing are gonna help save the planet. Terra Heilman, thank you so much for being on Earth Care. You're the coordinator of Repair Clark County, which I had to rehearse a bunch because that's not an easy name to say, but is such an important program that you're working on, and I think should be in so many more cities. Do you want to just give a backstory of what it is, how it operates?
Sure, yeah. So I always say that Repair Clark County covers what we do and where we are. So that's like the super simple version. And what we do is we fix people's broken stuff for free.
Okay.
And the way that we do that is by having a whole host of volunteers with various skills. A significant portion of our volunteers are people who are retired. And again, pre-COVID, we would set up at, say, a community center or a library branch, and we would run these 2-hour programs where you could come in with your broken stuff or your dull knives or whatever else, and you filled out a little form, and then you waited to be paired with a fixer, and then they would fix your item for you. And then if you had more stuff, you could go back through the line again. And so we did that for 2 hours. In general, those 2-hour events, we would fix between 80 to 120 items.
Wow.
And of course, we're doing things a little differently now because of COVID. But again, so that's like the basic, overview of what we do is we fix people's broken stuff for free.
This sounds like my dad's dream, to be one of the volunteers.
Right?
So
yeah, a lot of volunteers come to me because they were recommended by a daughter or a wife or or a husband that was like, oh, you need to go use your skills in that way. So
that's so awesome, though. I mean, gives them something to do. You're saving money on going to get something repaired. You're saving money on buying something new, but also you're stopping something from ending up in a landfill. Like when it comes to all of this, what would you say are some of the main benefits that you tell people when they're coming to the program?
Here's the thing that a lot of people don't realize about their stuff, right? Usually I have a phone, this phone. It's not really about that phone ending up in the landfill. That's not really where the environmental issues are happening with something being in the landfill. It's not great that it would end up in a landfill. Like, it should definitely be recycled. But the vast majority of the environmental footprint of all of our things, anything that we have as personal belongings or our clothing, the vehicles that we drive, all of that, the homes that we live in, the vast majority of the environmental footprint happens early on in the process. So it happens in the resource extraction and the manufacturing, and to a lesser extent, the transportation phases of its life cycle. Well, the problem with that is we don't have any control over that, right? That's already done by the time we're making a decision about what we're bringing into our lives. And so, when I started to learn that, it was, first of all, it was a hard thing to learn and to really conceptualize, because I think we've almost done ourselves a disservice by doing such a good job of talking about recycling and focusing on recycling. But I always also like to say, we're never going to recycle our way to a sustainable future. Recycling is good. It's important. It's an important piece of the puzzle. But even in the very best case scenario, recycling represents maybe 10% of the total life cycle, footprint of the thing. And so, it's really important. So what repair does, the reason why repair is so incredibly important is that it's keeping my phone, right? I get to keep that for a little bit longer, which means that I'm not replacing it with something brand new, and having all of that environmental impact associated with replacing something that was broken.
If these are going to be habits that people are going to try and hop on board with, or, you know, adopt upcycling, repairing, what's some beginner's advice? Because, you know, I'm not going to look at a cell phone and be like, I know how to fix that. But I certainly have things that I could do something with, and it's just so easy and convenient to throw something out and just, you know, there's that convenience habit that we have to break in order to remember to do these kinds of things.
I think it's important for us to not, first of all, I don't use guilt as a motivator. I think guilt is a terrible motivator. I think we all understand kind of the pressures that we're putting on our natural environment and how ultimately that's not good for us. So even if you're like the most selfish person in the world, if you understand ecology and you understand the environment and you understand the science of it, you understand that that's not a great thing for us to just be like using up resources willy-nilly and, you know, not doing anything about it. But then of course the big question becomes like, well, what difference is this thing going to make? And I think what happens is sometimes people get really excited, which is great, right? But they're like, I'm gonna like change all of my habits all at once, you know, and it's kind of that that New Year's resolution issue, right? Where it's like, I'm gonna change like everything in my life is going to be sustainable and minimalist, and like I'm going to do all the things, you know, and that doesn't work, you know. That's not how humans work. We are, you know, it takes us a long time to change behaviors and to, you know, do something new. And so in my education, I've been a waste reduction educator for, I don't know, 15, 20 years now. And what I always tell people is pick one thing. I know it's hard because you're excited and that's great, but pick one thing that you can change, whether that is, you know, you're not consistently taking your own bag and you're, you know, still having like plastic or paper bags, or, you know, you're not consistently using a reusable water bottle. Whatever the behavior is, pick one thing, try it for say 2 weeks, and then see if you can make it work for you, and see if you can make it to where it's not something you have to think about all the time. It's just now a habit, right? And then once you've got something that's a habit, then move on to the next thing.
What kinds of things have you upcycled? Did you bring any props, or do you? Yeah,
I did, yeah. Sorry, my chair, which is totally upcycled, is really squeaky, just FYI. So I'm gonna get up for a second. Oh, it didn't squeak that time, yay. So this is a super fun one as well. This is obviously it was a tea kettle, and it was a funny story because we had, here, let me sit back down. We had 3 of these, I think, come through in like 2 weeks through our program. Unfortunately, we were not able to fix any of them. Okay. And I thought, I was hopeful that maybe we could take like 2 broken ones and make 1 working one out of it, you know. Unfortunately, we were not. But so one of my fixers actually he just basically added, so we took some of the bits and pieces away, added a little hanger, and now it's a little bird feeder.
I love that.
Isn't that sweet? So it's actually got some, I don't know if you can see in there, but it actually has some sunflower seeds in there for the birds.
And that would look so cute just hanging in the garden.
Okay, so this one is a message board.
Okay.
And the drawer, it's a really thin drawer, right? Shallow drawer. This was at our local Habitat store in the free section. And I looked at it and I was like, ooh, that's interesting. Great. And then, so I had a woodworker in my program, and I asked him, I said, do you think you could like clean this up a little bit and kind of, you know, make it into something? And then there was a couple different, you know, a couple of fixers that we were all kind of talking about this project. And we said, well, we need to mount something to where we can have it be, you know, a true message board. And so we were talking about using like binder clips or something like that. And then I was at the bins and I found this hanger, and I was like, you know, this would totally work because it would be 2 8.5 by 11s, or if you wanted just 1 sheet, you could scoop these together, right? Because it's a hanger for pants. And so this is our little message board, our upcycled message board.
There's a lot of creativity behind it, which can be a ton of fun during a time where we're spending more time at home kind of looking for things to do. I brought props as well. I thought this was very fitting because this is actually something I use for filming this series. This is my phone holder. And so it's just a little, like, this would have been trash. It's like a cleaning bottle cap, and it holds,
Yeah.
this is what the behind the scenes of this series looks like. It's on a broken, or
Right.
an old wine bottle, but you work with what you got.
Yeah,
I love that
exactly.
idea.
Yeah, there's an old phrase, let's see if I can say it properly. Uh, Use it up, wear it out, make it do or do without. And, I always think of that in terms of like, our grandparents, they lived through the Depression, and, upcycling for them was not a matter of, oh, this is this cool and I'm going to be creative. It was a matter of necessity,
Yeah.
and so aren't we so lucky that we get to do it just because we want to and we think it's fun?
Why should people care about these kinds of habits when it comes to upcycling things, repairing things?
Yeah. I mean, from a purely selfish standpoint, which I think is a valid place to start, like we said, it's going to save you money. So if you look in your own community and you're able to find a repair group, so this concept started in the Netherlands over a decade ago, and this is just our version of it. But there are over 2,000 of them across the globe. So from a purely selfish standpoint, save you a little bit of money, and also keep things that you are really well versed in, right? You know how your radio works and you know how all the buttons work, and you don't have to learn something new if you can keep that thing working. And then, from a much, more global standpoint, as I mentioned earlier, the environmental footprint of our stuff is largely out of our hands. And so if you want control over that, and, as a consumer, if you want to participate in, kind of mitigating some of that impact, there's really no better way to do that than to seek out repair, teach yourself repair. I mean, you can learn a lot online. And obviously some things are, not safe, and, be very careful. But there's a lot of things that you can fix on your own that don't really require anything but you understanding how to play a YouTube video and then do what the person is doing. We use it a lot. I will admit that.
It's there, why not? Tara, it was so nice to meet you. It was such a pleasure talking to you. I appreciate your time. I mean, this was just
Yeah.
a short conversation. I feel like I could pick your brain for 3 more hours because I've learned so much just from this conversation alone.
Good.
And I feel inspired to go digging around my house now and see what else I can start upcycling.
Right. Yeah. Look in your recycling bin, like, oh, what can I use out of here?
Yeah, for sure.